This is the Oklahoma Talking Company.
The following program is a production of Destiny Creative.
Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, wake up!
Welcome to the show, my friend. Thanks for coming round again.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
Okay, everybody ready? Yeah, I got some fresh ideas,
Well, what's shaking, cats and kittens? Welcome to the OKC Show. I am your host, Jason Baffrey. It is the inaugural show, and we are glad that you have joined us, whatever time it may be that you have joined us and downloaded the show. We're going to have a great time, and let me tell you a little bit about the OKC Show. This is an idea that I've had for quite some time and wanted to do, and got together with Nate Dogg out here, who's producing the show for us. And we decided to put this show together, and it is a way for us to get to know the people of Oklahoma City and what makes it so great. And we're going to talk about a little bit of everything. And we'll have a variety of guests on, at least that's the goal, if we can get any other people to come in other than our guests for tonight. But we are going to be a weekly show, and we will talk politics sometimes. We'll talk technology. We'll talk about what's going on around the city. But most importantly, there are a lot of great people that make Oklahoma City such a great place to live and have made it, if you will excuse the term, a progressive city, but a growing and city that's moving towards the future. And there's been a lot of great things happen since I was a young lad and have made this city very exciting. And hopefully we're going to get a lot of those people in and be able to talk to them. But I tell you what, this has been an absolutely crazy afternoon. Of course, it figures that it would be this way, that thunderstorms would roll in on the day that we're doing our first show. We virtually had to swim to get into the studio today. And I don't know what is going on with the weather around this state in 2010. I swear that it's one of the signs of the apocalypse, and I need to study more about that. But we've had the worst winter in history. We've had the most major flood I have ever seen, people swimming in the streets, and now it's raining again. And I realize that when you listen to the show, it may be long past today, but I feel that it's worth pointing out that it's been absolutely crazy trying to get here and get things situated. But we had a task, and we aimed to complete it, and we are set up. And thanks to Nathan Davis and Dan Mooney, who are producing the show for us this evening. And we hope that you have downloaded the show and you will enjoy everything that we have to talk about tonight. So let's get right into it. Our first guest here at the OKC Show is a fourth-generation jeweler. The company has been in business for 100 years in the Oklahoma City area. He is also a social media superstar.
No.
He has more than almost 2,500 followers on Twitter, more than 4,000 followers on Facebook. I did not count the number of followers that you have on LinkedIn. But ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Gordon from Samuel Gordon Jewelers joining us here in the Destiny Creative Studios for the OKC Show.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that I'm extremely honored and ridiculously excited that you all even asked me to be here, because the show can only go up from here. I mean, there are a lot more savvy, smart, interesting people than myself to interview.
Me too.
So I take it this is a jumping off point for you guys, and you guys will skyrocket. There is no more bottom than you've got with me. So
well, I don't agree with that, but I hope you're right, and that people latch onto this, and this continues to grow, and we bring our listening audience lots of great people to talk to. But right now, you're the guy, and we appreciate you coming in.
Oh, I'm really excited about being here. Of course, as you know, I love all things technology, and this is just so exciting to see someone in Oklahoma City doing something like this, and I just see the possibilities are just insane. It's exciting, and I just love this stuff.
Now, we actually met, if you will, by connecting on Twitter,
Right.
and then had a chance to meet face-to-face just a few weeks ago at the Get Social conference.
That's right.
Which was really a great thing. First time I had been to a conference like that. But the social media has it continues to explode. And here in Oklahoma City, there is a core group of people that seem to be attached to that movement and are really moving it forward.
There's so many now. I mean, I remember when I first got more involved in social media, Twitter especially, the ability to create so many new relationships has just exploded. And, a good buddy of mine, a high school friend, Ryan Parrott, Chef RP on Twitter, he and I have I started Twitter in 2007, and I'm not sure exactly when he got on, but I didn't use it for a long time. And then I saw him on there may have been about a year later, and I started meeting people, and he was meeting people, and throughout this process, just amazing things throughout that journey have happened with different conferences, tweet-ups, events. It's really brought a huge amount of really, really good people and smart people together.
Well, I was impressed by the people that I saw at the Get Social conference and the things that I learned there. And for all intents and purposes, I'm new to the whole social media. I've been on Facebook for a couple of years now. I was on MySpace before that, but
me too.
Got onto Twitter.
Yeah.
Earlier this year, I'd tried it out in 2009 and wasn't smart enough to figure out what was going on.
Right.
And then I jumped back into it, and it started making sense. And since then, I really think that it is one of the most beneficial things that is out there right now, making connections. And certainly by being able to connect to you and being able to have a guest for the first episode of the OKC show, it's already paying dividends.
Yes. Well, it's like kind of everything's evolved so much, and now everything changes so quickly. And I remember when I really started getting involved in it, and it paying dividends, like you said, like creating relationships. Basically, that's all I'm trying to do is meet as many people on this face of the earth as I possibly can. I mean, that's my goal. And in the beginning, it's so exciting and new and fresh, and it is. It's this new way to communicate, but we can do so much more. We can extend our lives, our personalities with pictures, photos, and videos out and publish them instantly at any time. And so it kind of takes it back for me to, I'm using a telephone. It's just a new way and a new form of communication, and we can reach so many people. It's really, it's amazing.
It really is. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to point something out here now. This is an audio show, and Daniel showed up looking, like he was on the cover of GQ.
No.
He's got the, what is this, an Armani suit?
No, this is nothing of that sort.
No, Hugo Boss?
No, not that high end.
Anyway, Daniel is looking good. I am sporting the jeans and I dug my military jacket.
I love that military jacket.
This is a Target brand. I don't want anybody to think
Target's great.
Target is great. I was not in the military.
It's a great brand, by the way. I mean, they're amazing.
Yeah, I would. But
I'll switch you jackets right now. Even Steven. Let's go.
No, that's all right. I kind of like this.
All right.
But no, you're looking good. We're glad you're here, and let's talk a little bit about your history.
Okay.
Fourth generation jeweler.
Yep.
You stayed in the family business, which is something that's rare for our generation. But
yeah.
To have a company that's been in business for 100 years in the Oklahoma City area, that's something to be proud of. But
sure.
How do you accomplish that?
Well, you're right. They say most generational family businesses don't make it to the third. Second is the founder has the toughest job, and then to get to the second and third and on, it's harder and harder. And I think it's worked for our family, especially now. My father, who is the CEO, that's his title. My title's president. We both have ownership. Have a mutual respect and understanding that with all the things I'm doing, he's got to be very forward thinking and open to new ideas to allow me to do what I want to do. And then his input is, I value and respect because he was the one that taught me a lot of what I know. So I think it's just a lot of, as they say in a marriage, you have to compromise and you have to, know which battles to pick and which ones not to, and know, sometimes that you need to hear that, your ideas aren't working and move on to a different direction. So I think you really have to, like in any environment, you have to work extra hard and not let the emotions get in the way because it is your father or, if other family members in different businesses. But for us, it's great because it's us too. And if we disagree, we have a mutual respect. And, if somebody feels very passionately about one decision, we kind of let each other, know that. So.
Was it preordained in your life that you would take over the family business?
I get asked that quite a bit, and the answer is absolutely not. In fact, I wondered if my father wanted me to come into the business, and that now at this point in stage of my life, I realized he was a master manipulator because that made me want to come in even more. But no, I was told, do whatever you want to do, like the cliche is, as long as you're happy. But I always knew in the back of my mind I wanted to try it out at least. I have a lot of different passions, a lot of things I love. But it's a beautiful thing now in today's age that I can apply all the stuff that I'm passionate outside of the industry, which is tech and all that good stuff. And I can use it for marketing and web, digital marketing. So, I've found my kind of little niche and carved my little, name, which I think is very important for anyone in a family business. A lot of people think you are handed this and I feel like if there could be a reality show behind the scenes at family businesses on the fact that it's so different from that type scenario where you really have to earn it 10 times more because you need to earn the respect of the employees, first of all, because you're coming in and there is that kind of underlying notion that that's the case. I mean, I would think the same. But in the long run, I think it really teaches you a lot, makes you a better person. So,
you went to John Marshall High School.
Yep,
graduated from John Marshall.
That's where I met my wife.
Went to college.
Yep, a little bit, not a lot.
A little bit of college.
Very little bit.
You were a certified gemologist. Is that correct?
Well, I'm not a gemologist. I have my diamond certificate.
Okay.
I really wasn't good at sitting in a room and being taught by being in class. I just can't sit still. I'm doing pretty good right here, I think. But yeah, I mean, I went to very little college at UCO. I kind of just, was trying to find my way, didn't know what I was doing. As far as like from my life, was I really going to do the jewelry business or was I going to pursue something else? And then I'm not a certified gemologist, which is a degree you get from the Gemological Institute of America. But we do have one in the store, and we have our manager that's about to get the degree. But I have my diamond certificate. But my long-winded point is I'm glad I wasn't in my experiences, how I've learned things in life, in decision making and whatnot. I've learned it all kind of from going through life and making a lot of mistakes and learning from them. So I'm not a certificate guy. I don't have a piece of paper to back it up, and but I've done all right. I've done okay.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I've done okay. So
I think I read somewhere, and correct me if I'm wrong, but your book of business is in the 7 figures on a regular basis?
Yeah, I do a pretty decent ticket writing book. And that's another thing that was really fascinating for me when I started in the business, because I started in the repair department, customer service. We had the marquee style sign back then, changed the letters on the sign, got lunches for everyone every day, called repair customers, told them their jobs are ready, really tried to learn the back end of the business. And for me, I wasn't even allowed to come on the sales floor. It was a requirement, a policy with my dad and my grandmother that I work this back end for at least a full year. And I understood that, and I thought it was, totally the thing to do. But I was asked probably 9 months in to come out on the floor by a regular repair customer. He said he came in frequently and brought things to be cleaned, repaired. And he said to me, I want to look at a diamond, but I don't want a salesperson to help me. We spent about 3 hours together, and that was my first really real sale in the store, other than helping out a little bit here and there with some stuff. And it was $32,000 diamond. And I was shaking when I wrote the ticket. And I remember he asked me, because, we had built up a rapport. He goes, is this the biggest sale you've ever written? And I said, I couldn't lie. And I said, yes. And that,
it's the only sale I've ever written.
Yeah, it was really amazing. And immediately my dad put me on the floor.
Yeah.
He said, you're going to do sales. So
that's a good start to it.
Yeah. So that was the first thing that I really kind of, caught the knack of. And I'm very competitive. And so I wanted to be the biggest ticket writer. Here I was, starting in the business, not even a full year, and there had been people there 20 years and whatnot. And I said, in a very respectful way, I'm going to write as many sales as I possibly can and be the best. And it took me about 2 years, and I became the biggest ticket writer. And I just felt like I was just. It's the same thing as like Twitter and Facebook and all this stuff. I have no sales training. I have never bought any, help guides or booklets or any of that stuff. But I like to talk to people and I like to meet people. And that's all I did was have a conversation. And I never sold, even though I really was selling, obviously. But I think that was the beauty of it all. And that's why I talk about not having a education in the form of a classroom, which I think is very important, and my kids are going to have to before they go into business. Right. But I think I was just having a conversation and getting to know people, and it just kind of happens as a result if somebody enjoys, everything that you have to offer.
Well, there's nothing like real world experience, and certainly if you have a personality that people can relate to and can accept, and you're not. You don't come across as a salesman, and trust me, I've tried being a salesman, and I have not had your kind of success, and I'm easily frustrated in that area. Yeah. This is where I like to be. I like to be behind the microphone, but nevertheless, I think it's a credit to you and certainly your family, and it sounds like the way that your family approached entering you into the business. You've shown some great success. Coming from that background. You have now taken the business into the 21st century and really taking a 100-year-old company and introducing it to the web, to social media. Aside from your love of tech, what made you make that decision? And was that a hard sell for the rest of the family?
Not really. Back in the mid-'90s or tiny bit after that, when AOL was getting big and, everyone was still on dial-up, but people were getting websites and Yahoo's stock was going through the roof and all this stuff that, leading up to this tech boom and bubble. I was like, I remember I lived in these condominiums because I did actually have to work outside the business with an undisclosed amount of time before I was allowed to come in the business to go out there and kind of show that I could make it on my own. And during that period of time, I discovered the web, and I saw it. I saw a friend's condominium I was at, and he had a computer, and I think it was AOL 1.0, and it took about 15 minutes to connect. I heard all the fax noises, but once we got on, I saw this stuff pop up, and I saw this media, videos, pictures. He was chatting and or whatnot eventually, led to, and saw the email. And I'm just like, I got to get into this stuff. I knew immediately, I felt like there was something magical. The whole world was going to eventually, use this and have it ingrained into our lives. So I kind of did the website thing, not a coder. I had someone do it for me. And, we had results back then. Someone drove from Dallas unannounced on a Saturday, showed up and bought a really big diamond because they saw our website. And that was back, during the 2099 era. So when, I think that my father saw enough results in his face that he thought, well, I better, let him keep doing this stuff. It's working.
Yeah. And now with the social media, I mean, what's behind that, and how have you become so successful on social media?
Well, I don't measure it, and I don't know if I'm, it's hard for me to give myself credit for anything, in case you haven't noticed. But
yeah, you're just a jeweler, right?
I am just a jewelry salesman, and I will live and die by that slogan, because I am. And but I think what's really happened is, so many people have gotten to know each other and connected up and formed groups, and I think that the first thing I ever thought in my head, which I really don't think about things and plan them, is I'm just going to talk to people. I mean, it's a communication tool. People know what I do. They know what I represent. They know if they need a piece of jewelry and we're connected, they're going to think of me and they might give me a chance at their business. So I never understood the interruptive, disruptive mentality, which used to be the only thing available to us. With newspaper ads, television ads, radio, where, I kind of stole this from Seth Godin, who I like a lot, but, the old methodology was to interrupt enough to where I made you want to buy my product, and then I can make even more money to interrupt you some more. Mm-hmm. And now where we're at is another guy on Twitter, Unmarketing, I think he's in Canada, that I really am enjoying following. I think he has a book out soon. He says, we've gone from push and pray, which means send your message out and pray that they come in and buy your product, to pull and stay. And I really connect with that, because it's like, I'm not trying to make any sales out of this. They happen as a result, but I want to meet as many people as I can and learn as much as I can from people. And I talk to people immensely, a lot, that I don't think will ever buy jewelry from me, but I just don't care. That's not my purpose. My mind can't think like that. And I think, if you're that way in real life, you're that way online. It's just now everybody can watch what we're doing collectively as we're doing it together. So I think it can be a really good thing for people, or a real bad thing if you have I don't know, we all know people in life that it's me, them first, and what can I get out of you? And, that's going to ruin anything they're doing from a business standpoint. I think there's the personal and there's the business. And I'm really focusing on changing up a little bit of the business, but I think the personal is always you. You don't bring a clone to a party and have them act differently. You're always you, and you have to be true to that.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what's going on in the interpersonal relationships that are developing through social media, mm-hmm. and the way that sales and advertising is working through that. Mm-hmm. And for myself, because I every now and then make money from standard advertising, because mm-hmm. I do some voice work and everything, mm-hmm. but I see a lot of people going away from that to utilizing only social media, and I think it's a great medium, and I'm fully behind it. But on the other hand, I'm going, wow, there were a lot more radio commercials out there that I could be having access to, but I think there's a place for everything right now, except for maybe newspapers, which are really starting to struggle, and I can see where they're going to have a hard time. But hopefully, with this show and other multimedia shows, again, it's a double-edged sword, because somebody like me, who's been in broadcasting for a large part of my life now, and I'm doing this show, but somebody could be doing it from their basement with the microphone in front of the computer, and have as much success as I can, which more power to them.
And that's what I was thinking about on the way over here, is that everybody can, we know you can be a publisher, you can be, you can turn on your video station, you can push out content, whoever you are, and there's so much content being pushed out now. It's wading through all that and consuming, the cream rising to the top. It's really interesting. I've been more focusing on, I think, newspaper, radio, and television, although I wouldn't have said this 12 months ago, has a very, I think if it works for you, that's what you should do. If newspaper ads are working for someone, they should advertise in the newspaper till they stop. And I don't think anyone can really tell anyone unless they hire someone that can analyze the consumer and find out the consumer needs for their demographic, for their business, because each and every situation is different. My whole client base might still read the newspaper. It might not be a huge client base, but if that's what they're looking at and that's what their eyeballs are seeing, that's where I need to be. But I am very comfortable and confident that we're where we're supposed to be due to feedback and analytics and all the different things that I use, which I need to step up even more, which I'm planning to do. So,
ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the OKC Show. I'm your host, Jason Baffrey. I'm joined by Daniel Gordon, the president of Samuel Gordon Jewelers, and we're talking a little bit about the business in Oklahoma City and social media and how those things intertwine with each other. And Daniel, it's we're talking about advertising here and the different methods that are available.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of we talked a little bit about how you approach the social media aspects, but in addition to the Facebook and the Twitter, you also do a little bit of blogging, and but you're also out and about a little bit too, and you get some FaceTime.
Yeah, I basically I try to go to as many events as I possibly can, time permitting. What it's done for me too is basically open doors to where I get to contribute to like the American Marketing Association chapter of Oklahoma City, which I never would have done without getting to know so many people and forming relationships. The Philharmonic, the committee for the board of the Philharmonic Overture, and I want to get as involved as I can because I feel like I can spend my whole day and night behind the computer talking to people, but at the end of the day, what really counts is turning that into a real life relationship that we can add value to one another. And I think that's the end result that, is the goal to eventually happen like, we're doing right here.
Yeah.
So.
And that brings to mind a good question. How do you handle your time management with what you do online and what you do in person and having time to run the business and be on the sales floor? I mean, that has to be pretty intense.
It can be at times, and it's such a blessing that it is intense because otherwise nobody would want to talk to me. But to answer your question, I've been asked this question a lot, and I think it's a great question, and I hear all these different things when I go to the jewelry show and we do panel discussions and all sorts of things. How much time should you spend? How much time? And people have a various amount of answers, and I think there is no answer. And if you boil it down to this, our phone is always on. The phone has a voicemail. The phone can call in and call out. All we're doing is communicating. You never turn your phone off. If you go to sleep, if you have your home phone on, because there might be an emergency. Now, I would say that I'm not on 24 hours, 7 days a week as far as like physically on it, but I kind of view it more as like this is just another telephone. And, when someone calls in or tweets me and I get the message or I see it, then I'm going to respond. If I need to contact someone out in the social media web, then I'm calling them out. So I just think your computer is now another device just to communicate. So you don't dictate how much time you spend on it. And I think randomness with some sort of a strategy of where you're going with contests online and whatnot for your business is great, because I might see a gorgeous piece of jewelry or something I found online and post it randomly instead of manufacturing a whole year's worth or 6 months worth of a timeline. And I think that's a difference between somebody that is doing something where it's truly coming, from your heart or what you're experiencing at that time, just like in real life.
So you're pretty much always connected.
Always connected.
And do you get in trouble with your wife for that?
She, in the beginning, we had,
because I tell you,
yes.
My wife says,
you spend more time with that thing than you do with me. You need to put it down.
Let's just put it this way. And you can follow her at Amy Gordon, just because I want to tease her so she gets a bunch of followers. Because she'll tweet once every, a week or more. But we've come to an understanding. But it's at Amy Gordon, AIMEE, Gordon, GORDON.com. We've come to an understanding that she's really now seeing the results and the effects. I think the first time all the way up to, we had an event last November 20th called Crush It. a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, he has Wine Library TV. I don't know if you've heard of Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yep, I follow him.
He came to Oklahoma City through efforts of a huge group that got together that really got a lot of people to know each other even more, through social media. And when she went to that event and she saw all the people there and she saw that we all came together through Twitter, Facebook, whatever, she was like, I really kind of get this now. I mean, this stuff is real. It's not just because it has a silly name, Twitter, or, people are posting all kinds of, meaningless stuff all over the web. She was like, this is really cool. And it's not her thing, but she gets it. She understands.
Yeah, I've been trying to explain to my wife and also my friends that are on Facebook that I have made more meaningful relationships from a business standpoint or just connections, valid people through Twitter than I have doing just about anything else recently in the past couple of years. And she still has the Motorola Razr.
Yes.
And she makes a phone call, she turns the phone off, and sometimes she has it with her, sometimes she doesn't, and she's not connected, and she doesn't understand why my phone is in my hand virtually all the time. And
like what on earth could you be doing with that thing?
We're out to dinner, and I'm I'm now foursquaring where we are, and the Foursquare is a whole thing that's new to me too. I just got involved in that after the Get Social conference when I found out a little more about that. So it's pretty crazy, and I want to do a show. And you and I can talk about this after this show, but I'm sure you know some people. I want to do a show on the generational aspects of social media and the technology and everything. Because quite honestly, I mean, my dad doesn't know how to turn a computer on. And, he doesn't understand. I talked to him about, we'll say something about Facebook or Twitter. I'm going to go do the podcast. What's a podcast?
Yeah.
So,
I had to explain that a few times today. Can I say one more thing about the time thing?
Absolutely. Sorry to interrupt.
No. I'm sorry. Is that because I was talking to someone about this today, is that people in the beginning when I started doing this were going the same thing. Like you're spending all day, all night, you're doing this, you're doing that. And then I think another really powerful thing to think about is that basically the human race is getting smarter and evolving as a result of this. We have so many more, I guess they could be distractions, but they can also be connection. And I love what you said about value-based building relationships. And we're just catching up. We're learning how to accustom ourselves to this new way of life. Just like when the telephone was invented, I'm sure, can you imagine they spending all that time on the, as that got more evolved, and the cell phone, and you're on the phone in the car. That
Alexander Bell, take that thing off of your head.
Yeah. So I think it's just it's a revolution or an evolution, I should say, and we just adapt, and as a result, it just becomes normal. Which I think for not everyone, but it's every 6 months. It just seems like. I went out to Vegas for our biggest trade show in the jewelry industry. It's every year in June in Vegas at the Sands Expo Center. It takes up all 2 floors, and it bleeds out into the suites outside the convention room. And we finally did a hashtag for the show, and they had screens up, and we had people really now just starting to say, how do I do it? Instead, should I do it? Then we went to how do I do it? Now everyone's going to, what do I do with it now that I'm doing it? Why? Who am I trying to connect with? And I think it's so neat because now it's getting to a point where we're used to using our telephone. We're used to communicating. We've analyzed to death how we behave on it, and we've realized it needs us to be ourselves. And it's okay to sell separately after the person gets to know you as separate accounts, but what is the end result, and why are we blogging? Why are we making a podcast? Why are we, instead of what are we doing on our stuff, why are we doing it? And I read an article recently. I don't know where it was. I'm consumed so much. That's one thing that does distract me, is I listen and I read as much as I can so I can learn as much as I can. But I'm just thinking, we're just catching up to what's it's already there.
Well, I think it's one of the things that it's one of the things that makes America great and the capitalist system great. Not to get off on a whole political rant, which I could, but the fact that we can take this technology and utilize it, and people are now profiting from it. I mean, that's they're not doing that in other countries that I know of, and it is the ingenuity of the American businessman,
the freedom
and
of it
the
all.
freedom to be able to do it that allows us to have opportunities like this. That you can take a company that has been around for as long as it has in Samuel Gordon Jewelers and take it into the 21st century and be able to profit from that technology that you have brought into the door there. And hopefully we can, see some profit here too.
Well, hopefully so. It's not going to be on this show. You're not going to get a sponsor from me, I promise. But as you get celebrity real guests that are worth listening to, I'm positive you will.
No, I feel certain that people are going to enjoy the show and your insight with what you've done. Now, a question that I have to ask because I'm curious: do you feel additional pressure being in charge of a business that has been in business for so long and has such a tradition?
That's a good question. From time to time, that's a fleeting thought in my head, but fortunately, we have been successful. I mean, we're on track. Our volume's growing. Over the bad economy, of course, it's been challenging, but I mean, we've really got a great business, but we work really hard to manage it and make sure we're doing the right things, whether it be personnel, inventory. And we kind of got off on this earlier, or I should say kind of went this direction earlier, is that sales was my first thing. But then I found a ring that I saw on someone's finger that I was going to clean it for one day. This is kind of like the next year after my first year. And I loved the ring, and I didn't know why. I just loved it, and I thought, I just think this ring would sell so well. So we researched who manufactured it, and we found it, and we put it in stock, and it sold 12 or 13 times in 1 year. The average turn in the jewelry industry for inventory is 1 time per year.
Wow.
So I found another calling, and I love design and style. I'm not a designer, but for some reason, I think, once again, it goes back to having no training whatsoever, not having any influence, and just going by what my eye sees and what I love, because it probably back then I'd seen so little. It was very basic, but it was advantageous to me because then I became eventually the buyer for the store.
Yeah, so you have a natural eye for design and what is going to sell. And
I've done that. That has been the case. And then I kind of, after that, merged into marketing because I was fascinated with marketing. And I think that, at the end of the day, on the business side, is probably like what I get the most jazzed about. Creating something that, brings business in, but that also is something, that's why I just try so many new things. I want to, create something that creates something. If that makes sense. I don't think so, but
makes a little sense.
All right, we'll try. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
I'll take a little.
Daniel Gordon, president of Samuel Gordon Jewelers and social media phenom.
Please quit calling me that.
Joining us here at the OKC show. I'm your host, Jason Baffrey, and I'm a
social media user. That's all I am. I use the web to communicate. That's it.
But you have been very successful with that use. In my eyes.
All right.
You have been successful. So
yeah.
Let's talk a little. I talked at the top of the show as I was kind of doing an intro. What makes this city great, and that's what this show is about. The people that make it great, but also what's going on around town, and we'll as we progress through the shows, we'll bring people in and talk about events and everything. But you've been here, for your entire life. I've been here for most of my entire life. I've moved away a couple of times, but have come back home and have been here for a few years. And we've seen a lot of changes to Oklahoma City and the things going on. Because if you were like me in high school, and I know you're a couple of years younger than me, I mean, there was nothing to do here. You wanted nothing more than to get out of Oklahoma City as soon as you got out of high school or college.
Oh, that's so true.
And now there is so much going on. There's so much buzz. There's so many hip people. We have a great art museum. We have, the Paseo District. But what gets you jazzed? I mean, what do you like to do around town?
I am lately been so much of a homebody, but when the NBA came here all the way back from, the very beginning, I love that. I love the NBA experience, the showmanship, because I actually did move away a little bit when I was younger. I spent a little bit of time in Clearwater, Florida, where my mom lives.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I lived in Clearwater, Florida.
Did you really?
I did. In the mid-'90s, I was in Clearwater, Florida.
I went to Countryside High School.
Okay.
And I moved back and forth a lot when I was younger because my parents divorced at a very young age, and my stepdad opened a allergy practice out there, and I lived in West Bloomfield, Michigan, and then we moved out there. And, that was during the period of time when we basically had nothing to do here. I mean, it was Cruise Broadway, the Strip in Edmond. I don't know if you remember that.
My tire tracks are probably still there.
That was a blast. I mean, that was it. But NBA, the arts, the art museum, I mean, everything gets me jazzed because of the fact that there was nothing. I mean, the arts, we've had arts for quite a long time, but it is amazing to see what there is out there now.
It's funny because I'm sure, like me, you can remember when there wasn't a canal.
Yep.
And there wasn't a Bricktown.
Bricktown Canal.
And you wouldn't go anywhere near Bricktown.
Yeah.
And I'm just so impressed with what has taken place with the city, with the MAPS programs. And
absolutely.
I tell you what, I am not an NBA fan, or was not an NBA fan, but I got so fired up with the Thunder going to the playoffs and became an NBA fan, and it's so exciting to see a professional sport, and now with the OKC Barons hockey coming to town, there are just many great things that are about the city.
I just want to say, and this is totally from the heart, is that basically, it's the leadership of this community. I mean, it's the Mayor Cornett, which I had the pleasure of connecting up with his son, Casey Cornett, because he's on Twitter.
Yeah.
And, we've become acquaintances, and I consider, him a friend. In Chesapeake and Aubrey McClendon, and there's just been so many people and that have poured so much energy, time, effort in the city. To me, that we have so much to attribute and thank to them. I mean, it's just turned the city into something. It's funny you bring this topic up, because when I was a kid, I was wondering to myself, why couldn't we be a Dallas? Why couldn't we be? I mean, we're in the center almost. We're in a centrally located as you can get, and we missed out on an international airport back then and whatnot. And I'm like, why? We have so much land and so much space. Why can't this city just evolve, and that helps businesses obviously immensely, like mine, high-end luxury. And I was always jealous of the Dallases and all the big markets where you could sell these obscure watches like IWC or other brands that are really fun collectible things, but the population wasn't big enough. So I'm so excited, and it's just neat to see so much still going on. It's really not what I expected, but what I'd really hoped to see for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we are on par with most major cities. From the smaller market cities. I'm not going to put us on par with New York City and L.A., but certainly San Antonio, Dallas, Fort Worth, all of those. I mean,
it's happening.
We have everything to offer here now, except a direct flight to anywhere, because I do traveling and I cannot.
You
get a
could
direct
get
flight
to New York City via Newark International, which isn't that bad, and hop a cab. So, but the direct flight thing, unless of course you're right, it's a layover hub, ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, I go to Dallas or Chicago, regardless of where I'm going.
Yes.
So if I'm going to Tulsa, I have to go to Chicago.
Going to Chicago first.
So, well, Daniel Gordon, we're winding down here on our inaugural show, and I'm going to hit you with what we're going to call the 5Q.
Okay.
5 rapid-fire questions.
Ow.
that are going to be hopefully not too difficult for you to answer. But are you ready?
I'm as ready as I'll be.
All right. Question number 1.
Yes.
If you could be any superhero, who would it be?
Oh my gosh. This is rapid fire, right? I can't even think. Spider-Man?
All right. Good job.
I like Spider-Man.
Who is the biggest influence in your life?
Everyone that I come in contact with that has taught me anything that I know.
Wow. That was really... you thought a long time about that. Didn't you? Okay.
Or do you want a person?
No, that's good. That's a good answer.
Okay.
Whatever works for you.
Yeah.
All right. Here's one you might have to think a little bit about. What is the most important piece of advice you've ever received?
The important piece of advice.
Yeah. What if somebody told you that you have carried with you?
Character is doing what you do. What your character is what you do when you think no one is looking.
Very good. All right. What is the most important piece of advice you would give someone?
Don't get involved with social media.
And here's the final and what perhaps could be the most difficult question for you, Daniel Gordon.
It'll be easy.
Marilyn Monroe sang a song
Oh gosh,
that has probably done more for the jewelry business than any other.
Sure, I'm not singing it if that's what you're about to.
What is the title of that song?
Diamonds are a girl's best friend.
There you go. Congratulations, Daniel Gordon.
What do I win? I win something?
Well, you win
to get to be on the show.
Yeah, you already won that opportunity.
Yes.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule.
I had a blast.
And being here with us, the OKC show.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll have you back because there's always more that we could talk about, and we could find a variety of topics.
Oh, yeah.
And I hope you'll tell your friends about it. And
you know it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for joining us and tuning in here at the OKC show. It's been a great time. Be sure to join us for our next show.
The OKC Show is a production of Destiny Creative.